Mr. Speaker, I rise to second.
Thank you. Member for Island Harbour is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, this customs exemption is for importation of an electric vehicle. And the period during which the importation allowed, March 30, 2022 to March 29, 2023. This is for a Nissan Leaf electric vehicle, which was imported by Ms. Mona Fleming. The 5% administrative charge of the value of the goods in respect of which customs duty exemption is granted is expected. The duty loss is $4,500 EC dollars. Mr. Speaker, this administration has put in place legislation to allow electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles to be brought in at with duty-free concession. The goods and service tax continues to be charged, and this is in place until 2028. And so this vehicle was brought in, and the duty-free exemption was not applied, and therefore we are trying to make amends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, member. I now invite debate on this motion. Member for Valley South is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm going to learn my lesson from the last time around and continue to refer to you as Mr. instead of Madam. I'm very pleased to finally be here in relation to this particular customs duty exemption for the electric vehicle for Mrs. Mona Fleming. As you know, and as the Premier would have stated, this administration would have put in place a customs duty exemption policy specifically related to electric vehicles. I believe that would have been over 2.5 years ago. And we would have seen over the course of that period a number of persons importing electric vehicles into the island, which of course would have been for a range of reasons. In this particular case, Mr. Speaker, the individual who would have done this or would have applied for this customs duty exemption would have stated very clearly to me that if we are serious about climate change, then her vehicle should also be included. So we would have had a period within which we would have accepted persons after the formulation of the policy. So the policy would have been formulated, passed an executive council, brought into place, and just on the cusp of that period would have been when this particular person would have applied to bring their vehicle onto island. So I'm very happy to see that we are finally at the point of being able to recognize the customs duty exemption, and I want to continue to encourage persons who decide to bring in electric vehicles onto the island to do so and take advantage of the customs duty exemption that this administration has put in place. Thank you.
Thank you, member. Okay. If there are no more contributions, I now invite the mover to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member for Valley South for supporting this motion, and since there's no other contributions, we'll accept silence as consent, and wish to thank the House for appreciating the intent of this, as climate change is upon us, and we don't have a significant carbon contribution in terms of carbon emissions, but we do bear the brunt of it, and Those some of the discussions that were had at the United Nations this week and in previous settings, the SIDS conference that was held in Antigua in May. We do know that Anguilla is, in the bullseye for these major storms and events which can be detrimental not only to our well-being, but our way of life, but to our lives also, with the rising ocean levels, rising temperatures, beach and coastal erosion. And so anything that we can do in our little space to improve our lot, this administration is intent on doing. So again, want to thank the House and the members for approving this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, member. It has been moved and seconded that motion 8/2024-4/12 HOA becomes a resolution of the Assembly. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Motion 9 of 2024, 4/12 HOA, Financial Administration and Audit Remission, Capital One and New York Times Video Shoot Regulations 2024.
Member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Motion number 9/2024-412 HOA, Financial Administration and Audit Remission, Capital One and New York Times Video Shoot Regulations 2024. Be it resolved that under Section 16 of the Financial Administration and Audit Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter F 27, this House of Assembly approves the Financial Administration and Audit Remission, Capital One and New York Times Video Shoot Regulations 2024 made by the Governor on the 16th day of September 2024.
Single Island White members recognized.
Speaker, I rise a second.
Thank you, Member. Mr. Speaker, these regulations were made because the Capital One and New York Times came to Anguilla to do a video shoot which will benefit Anguilla. Anguilla being, in my opinion, because I have to say in my opinion now because people question my opinions all the time, Anguilla is the #1 tourist destination in the Caribbean. And this video shoot helps because it provides for Anguilla photos and videos that will be helpful to present Anguilla to the world. And we do know that 85% of our economy is based on tourism. And we cannot diversify completely away from tourism, Mr. Speaker. We can diversify the economy, which is the intent also to add other pillars in financial services, in fishing and farming, and other areas. In fact, the member for Road South is bringing in a dive policy. We can't get him under the water, but certainly we do know that he supports it fully. And so with this, they brought in equipment to do the video shoot and take photos. And there is a 1% customs duty on temporary imports. Given the benefits that this would have for Anguilla, the request was made to not charge the 1% customs duty for temporary imports because they were taking back out the equipment they brought. We've done this also, say, for Poker Run, where the boats come in and they would have to pay a 1% customs duty. We have, in the past, gone with exempting that also and waiving the fees. So these regulations allow those fees, that 1% customs duty, to be waived using the Financial Administration and Audit Act, which allows that to be done, but requires that this goes through Executive Council, then these regulations are brought to the House. And that today, that's the intent, to have this pass through, because we want to be transparent, and that is what is expected. And so I ask that the members of the House accept this for the intent it had, knowing that the benefits for Anguilla are immeasurable and priceless. Thank you.
Thank you, member. I now invite debate on the motion. Member for Road South is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to give full support of this motion. Capital One is a world-renowned company, Mr. Speaker. And the New York Times, we are all familiar with the New York Times. And this is not the first time these entities have done photo shoots in Anguilla. Anguilla have become a hotbed of photo shoots, video shoots. I can recall, Mr. Speaker, some years ago when I was working with some artists, in particular Ricky Rose, to do a video shoot in Anguilla that even Banker Banks was featured in. I remember coming under severe fire for the same. And out of that, we had a significant amount of visitors, including persons like Justin Bieber, who came just because of that. A number of persons, over 100 million viewers, watched that video. We did The Real Housewives of Atlanta and The Bachelor and the like. And people are still coming to Anguilla because of the same. It is good whenever we can place Anguilla into the living rooms, in the office spaces of people across the world. And these sort of photo shoots is, to my mind, free advertising, millions of dollars in advertising that we can benefit from. And I know the Honorable Premier spoke of the dive tourism policy. And that dive tourism policy is something that will be coming to us and being presented to the general public in the next few weeks, literally in October. It is something that we've been working on in the ministry. We've done wide consultation with the divers. We have at least 2 certified divers here, one on either side of the aisle, the Premier being one of them, and the Honorable Deputy Governor is also a diver. So while it is you and I will not be sojourning under the shark-infested waters around the world, these guys, because of their stunning good looks, they scare sharks regularly. And as many times as Mr. Van Der Poel, Mr. Bradley, and Premier Webster can venture into our waters, we know we'll have less sharks around our waters. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, a little humor sometimes is good to lighten up the tension that I see across the aisle. We also will be bringing some new policies and new legislation as it relates to personalized watercraft to this Parliament. And we hope that we'll have the full support, because in the upfront conversations, we can see where the young people in Anguilla are headed. They've been asking for this for a very long time, and we are going to have best practices in Anguilla as we unveil this very new product for Anguilla. Dive tourism is not a new product, but it is something that we wanted to have some policies around so that we can guide and protect our environment, protect our coral, protect our marine parks, while offering the best dive tourism site in the entire Caribbean, perhaps the entire world. But I rise in full support of this, and hopefully we'll have a lot more photo shoots, because we've been doing photo shoots for decades. And as many of them as we can do and can attract, it's good for Anguilla. These people pay to visit Anguilla, they pay their room rates, they pay for food and beverage, they consume, and then on the back of it, Anguilla again benefits from the advertising and promotion that they provide through these initiatives. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Premier, for bringing this to the House.
Thank you, member. Member for Western is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I too rise to support this motion. Also support the motion or the opinion of our Premier when he talked about Anguilla being #1. But unfortunately, it's the opinion of the visitors and the writers that really count. And I'm proud to say that from 2016 to 2020, you have voted number 1. So it's not just the Premier's opinion, it is the opinion of those who visited and are quite happy to give their opinion. I think going forward, Mr. Speaker, that whatever we do here in Anguilla, it is vitally important that our people are very much part of what we sell. So I would imagine the photo shoot would encompass Anguilla and Anguillians and what makes us special as a destination. So again, I rise to support.
Thank you, member. If there are no more contributions, I now invite the mover to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to thank the members who made contributions. Certainly shows that tourism in Anguilla and support of tourism is a bipartisan issue, and certainly thanks for the support of this motion. Capital One and New York Times, we do know, are well known, and therefore they give credibility when they want to come to Anguilla to show off our offerings. And certainly want to thank all those visitors who have come to Anguilla. And we do know that this year the tourism numbers are the best they've been ever since we started measuring the numbers. And so I want to say, I stand thanking the members for their support for this motion. And we continue to show off Anguilla to once again be the gem in the Caribbean and maybe the jewel in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, member. It has been moved and seconded that motion 9/2024-412 HOA becomes a resolution of the Assembly. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Motion 10 of 2024, 4/12 HOA, Customs Duty and Tax Exemption Motion. Motion 10 of 2024, 4/12 HOA Regulations, 2024.
Member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Customs Duty and Tax Exemption, Motion 10/2024-412 HOA Regulations 2024. Resolution made by the House of Assembly under Section 77, subsection 1 of the Customs Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter C-169 and Section 3 of the Excise Tax Amendment Act 2020 was proposed and seconded in the House of Assembly on the 27th day of September 2024. Whereas a certificate of good standing that had not expired or been canceled was produced to the Minister of Finance in relation to the importers. Be it resolved that under the powers contained in Section 77, subsection 1 of the Customs Act, Revised Statute of Anguilla, Chapter 169 and Section 3 of the Excise Tax Amendment Act 2020, the House of Assembly exempts from custom duty and excise tax the goods imported into Anguilla specified in the schedule. 1. Following conditions apply in respect of all goods exempted by virtue of this resolution. A. The goods shall not within 5 years of the date of importation be sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to any use other than the use specified in the schedule. B. On the expiry of 6 months from the date of importation, and each successive 6-month period within the 5-year period after the date of importation, the importer shall certify to the Control of Customs in a form acceptable to the Control of Customs that he has complied with the conditions set out in paragraph A. C. Upon demand made by a customs officer, the goods exempted under this resolution shall be produced or otherwise accounted for to the customs officer. D. In accordance with the Customs Administrative Cost Recovery Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter 170, at the time of import, the importer shall pay the customs administrative charge at the rate specified in the schedule. 2. In accordance with Section 71 of the Customs Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter 169. The following apply in the event that a condition referred to in Section 1 of this resolution is contravened or not complied with. A, if any of the goods exempted under this resolution are sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to any use other than the use specified in the schedule within 5 years of the date of importation. 1. The importer shall pay the customs duty and excise tax on the value of such goods at the rate specified in the integrated customs tariff at the date of importation. 2. The importer and any person knowingly concerned in such sale, exchange, gift, or unsanctioned use is guilty of an offense and may be arrested and is liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the customs duty excise tax relieved, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both, and 3, the goods in respect of which the exemption was granted are liable to forfeiture. B, if the importer fails to certify that he has not sold, exchanged, given away, or applied the goods to any use other than the use specified in the schedule, 1. The importer shall produce or account for the goods exempted under this resolution to the Comptroller of Customs. 2. Any goods not produced or accounted for will be deemed to have been sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to some use other than the use specified in the schedule, and paragraph A, subsection 1 applied. And 3. If any goods not produced or accounted for are subsequently found, they are liable to forfeiture. C. If the importer fails to produce or account for the goods exempted under this resolution upon demand by a customs officer, 1. The importer and any person knowingly concerned in such failure are guilty of an offense and may be arrested and are liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the value of the goods, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. And 2, if any goods not produced or accounted for are subsequently found, they are liable to forfeiture. D, if the importer fails to pay the customs administrative fee at the rate specified in the schedule at the expiry of 30 days from the date of delivery of a demand for payment made by the Comptroller of Customs, or such longer period as may be designated by the Comptroller of Customs, the importer shall pay the customs duty and the excise tax on the value of such goods at the rate specified in the integrated customs tariff at the date of importation. 2. The importer and any person knowingly concerned in such failure are guilty of an offense and may be arrested and are liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the value of the goods, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. And 3, the goods exempted under this resolution are liable to forfeiture.
Single Island White members recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise a second.
Thank you, member. And thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the customs duty and tax exemption is for the juice bar. The juice bar is owned by Cardigan and Militia McCown-Niles. And the date for importation allowed September 16, 2024 to September 15, 2026. And there is an attached list. The 5% administrative charge to the value of the goods that are exempted that will be charged, and also the applicant will pay the GST. The duty loss would be $12,768.75 EC. Mr. Speaker, the customs duty exemption policy of 1998 recognizes that government recognizes the need to actively promote economic development and diversification by stimulating the growth of the private sector. A critical responsibility of government is to encourage local entrepreneurs to invest substantially in the Anguillan private sector. And so it's based on this policy that we have made this decision to grant the duty exemptions to the proprietors of the juice bar. Now, the Granting the exemption supports the objectives of the government and further promotes the business development of the juice bar, which serves to provide a healthier lifestyle in the community. And it is notable that this administration, Mr. Speaker, has put an emphasis on health and promoting healthy living. We have brought to this House on several occasions request motions for duty exemptions for fitness centers and gyms, duty-free concessions to small businesses, especially startup businesses, because we want to promote healthy living. We want to promote small businesses. We want to promote health. And we know that pending is the manufacturing policy, which will cater for duty-free concessions to manufacturers, as we've done for fishing and farming. And you know that there's no GST on fishing, farming, or manufacturing. The emphasis of this administration on health is also borne out in some of the policies, such as the Senior Shield, which covers Anguillians 70 years and older that get free medical care. And this is soon to be expanded to include those on dialysis, those who are disabled, and those who are under 5 years. I guess we'll have to change the name from Senior Shield to something else. There is the Junior Shield is being recommended as the name. And we know that there's no GST on health services, Mr. Speaker. And from day one, when we had to accept the goods and service tax, as was previously started by the Anguilla United Front former administration and signed off in the MOU on June 11th of 2020 that they would progress the goods and service tax. We said that there had to be no GST on education services, no GST on health services. And then we went on and we have no GST on medications, prescription and non-prescription. And during this administration, we've also removed customs duties on all medicines, prescription and non-prescription medications, in an intent to decrease the cost of health care and to help our people to be healthy. And with that, you know that we've also have no GST on essential food items, especially fruits and vegetables, which are good for you, for your health, and also other essential items. And there's no customs duties on most food items and essential items since April 27 of 2022. So these are all efforts to improve the health of our people. And we continue as an administration to make the necessary steps to make it easier for our people to enjoy healthy living, because a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand here with this motion, asking that the members consider and approve this motion to allow the duty concessions for the juice bar owned by Mr. and Mrs. Niles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, member. I now invite debate on the motion. Single Island White member, Mr. Kenneth Hodge, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and a pleasant good morning to all our listeners via the radio platform and social media. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this motion for the juice bar, fresh food juices bar, owned and operated by Cardigan and Militia, Macau Niles. Mr. Speaker, the Premier in his preamble would have outlined some of the rationale, and I'm not going to repeat what he said. But I want to focus for a few moments, Mr. Speaker, on the whole issue of entrepreneurship. Malaysia and Cardigan are entrepreneurs in terms of they have started up this venture. And Mr. Speaker, if I can crave your indulgence, just outline that the whole issue of entrepreneurship promotes economic growth. It provides access to goods and services and improves the overall standard of living. Mr. Speaker, entrepreneurs also make a positive impact on their communities. Mr. Speaker, it is well understood that an entrepreneur is someone who creates, launches, and manages a new business and takes on financial risk in the pursuit of innovation. And I want to focus in on the whole issue of financial risk. Because, Mr. Speaker, the detractors and the naysayers would have you believe that this country is in a state of gloom and doom, that everybody's living hand to mouth, that this country is just a step away from failure. But, Mr. Speaker, the fact that these two young people and so many others across this country are launching out and realizing their dreams, their ambitions to make a difference, to be self-employed, not to work for a company or an industry, but to chart their own piece of the Anguilla dream, Mr. Speaker, is significant. And Mr. Speaker, we know that the whole act of entrepreneurship creates independent, self-employed individuals who can live up to their full potential. And I want to say here this morning that this request by the Juice Bar, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, you'd recall we have brought many other similar ventures to this honorable House for other young individuals who are trying to carve out their own dreams. It speaks volumes to the economic policies, the whole program of this administration. When you consider that we went through a hurricane, you consider that we'd have gone through COVID-19, that basically locked this country down for the better part of almost 2 years. And to see that we have been able as an administration to bring this country to a stage where it is very attractive, that investors are lining up, they are clamoring to come into this country to invest. And when we go back to the Juice Bar, yes, we are granting these concessions this morning, but we have to ask the question, where are their customers coming from, Mr. Speaker? Obviously, we have our local patrons, but Mr. Speaker, I want to dare say as well that a lot of these customers come from the high influx of visitors and tourists that come to this island. And I am sure the Minister of Tourism will speak to the record numbers of persons that have come to this country in the previous months, one of our best seasons so far. So all I'm saying is that it inspires confidence in this economy, and that confidence is fueled by the programs and policies of this administration. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to wish Cardigan and Malaysia well in their continued venture, and we sincerely hope that these concessions that we are granting here today will enable them to further expand and improve the quality of service that they offer to the people of Anguilla, as well as to the many visitors that have thronged and will continue to throng our shores in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member. If there are no more contributions, I will now ask the member for Road South is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I was slightly distracted. But I just want to place on record my sincere congratulations to Militia and Cardigan Niles. This was a long vision of Militia Niles many, many years ago. She spoke of the possibility of having such a juice bar. And I remember her having these conversations of this vision and the equipment and the cost of the equipment, because she wanted a particular type of equipment that can do cold presses and what have you. And in 2018, she started experimenting a bit with the juices. And then in 2019, she started doing juice deliveries. And on February the 1st of 2020, Mr. Speaker, she opened immediately across from Rum Can, the Anguilla Juice Bar. And it has continued to grow and continue to provide a service not only to the local community, but the tourists alike. And one of the shots that we all run from is the turmeric ginger shot that is good for colds and even good for COVID. But Mr. Speaker, I'm just happy to see that not only Militia and Cardi expanding on their business and upgrading their business and bringing in new equipment to provide greater services to the community and to the tourists alike, but also to see other entrepreneurs doing very similar ventures in terms of bringing in equipment and coming to us to talk about their ideas, and we making amendments to legislation and the policy to facilitate their ideas so that they too can become entrepreneurs and embark on business ventures. So I too would like to join everyone in this House. I believe this will be a unanimous vote in supporting the duty-free concession for Militia and Cardigan Niles at the Juice Bar in Anguilla. Thank you.
Thank you, member. So now, if there are no more contributions, I now invite the mover to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank all the members who made interventions, showing full support for the motion to allow these duty concessions for the juice bar, understanding that this is a small business worth supporting and follows on with the policies of this administration to support small business, also to support healthy living and our attempts at keeping Anguillians healthy and looking out for their well-being. So I want to thank everyone, and I would hope that we give this full support when you ask for the vote. Thank you very much, and good luck to Mr. and Mrs. Niles.
Thank you, member. It has been moved and seconded that motion 10/2024-4/12 HOA becomes a resolution of the Assembly. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Personal explanations? None. Other business, government business? None. Private members' bills? None. Private bills? None. Other orders of the day?
Member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I guess I'll lead out, as is my duty. I just want to, commend the young people of Anguilla. This is the Youth Week, the youth ambassadors, the youth parliament, all the different youth organizations in Anguilla. And the students who came out to the Straight Up Conversations 2 days ago. It just shows that there's so much potential in Anguilla, and you know, the future of Anguilla is bright. When our young people, they're courageous, they're intelligent, and they're deep thinkers, and they know what they want. And I think that, you know, they have this, there's no ceiling for the young people of Anguilla. You know, we did have some hiccups recently with the increased spate of gun crime and violence, and that has tamped down. I want to thank the Royal Anguilla Police Force and for their service, and Commissioner Robert Clark. We just want to say that it takes all of us working together to keep Anguilla, you know, to be the country that it has to be, to ensure that we can live here, and our young people, even if they go away to study and better themselves, that they'll come back to contribute to this country. Sadly, though, I want to say that, you know, we had the death of Mr. Sonny Ruwan, a master builder, who has passed. I want to wish condolences to his family, and you know, his funeral is scheduled for this Sunday. He will be missed. Mr. Ken Bryan, brother of Dr. Splinter, our reigning Calypso monarch who passed, also wish condolences to his family. We know that the House is going to be prorogued as of this coming Monday, and so I want to take this opportunity to wish you, Mr. Speaker, you know, thank you for the sessions that you presided over, for the great job that you've done, and expect you'll continue to do. Madam Speaker, on her birthday, I want to thank her also, and the Clerk of the House, for the stellar work, and the staff, and the members of the House for doing the work of the people. That's why we were elected, to do the work of the people, and I do hope that we have done it in order and with respect. The chaplain, the sergeant-at-arms, everyone who has made a contribution to this House of Assembly to look out for the well-being of the people of Anguilla, and to the audience, the gallery, those who come, and those out there listening and watching, because they're the ones who that we do it for. And we do want to thank God, most of all, for giving us this opportunity to serve the people of Anguilla and to keep us in good health. So the time off, let us, you know, get some rest and relaxation, finally be able to meet with our families and spend that time. And as we come back for the 5th session of the 12th House of Assembly, hopefully on the 5th of November, God's willing, you know, we hope that all goes well. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Member.
Adjournment.
Member Fylan Harbour is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise and beg to move that this honorable House be adjourned sine die.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second.
It has been moved and seconded that this assembly be now adjourned sine die. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. Ayes have it.